Whether you're bringing a new dog into your home or you're introducing your dog to your friend's dog, dogs meeting for a very first time can go easily wrong. And let's talk about the best steps that you can take in order to introduce dogs for the first time, and especially what not to do. One of the worst things you can do, dogs meeting on short, tight leads. I see this all the time and it drives me nuts. Some of you at home would have seen it and also probably would have done it at some point. Everyone sort of does. Well, what is the right way to introduce dogs? The first step I take is aiming for a neutral location for both of the dogs. Dogs are naturally territorial animals. Because of that, they can be protective over their own homes, like resource guarding. So one of the best ways is to choose a neutral ground, like a street, park, and have both owners there if possible, and you both walk your dogs, but you don't let them interact. It sounds a bit weird, that fact that you want your dogs to meet, but you don't actually let them meet. But the reason we do this is so that dogs can get used to being in each other's presence, and with nothing bad happening, that is a positive experience. You can do this as many times as you need to, and then slowly decrease the distance between them up until they're just casually walking next to each other without any problems. But sometimes that is not an option. Time can become an issue, emergencies happen, or you don't have an environment to walk them in. I live in Cambodia and you can't walk down the street without having to deal with street dogs. So if you're trying to introduce 2 dogs for the first time and you've got another 5 dogs running at you, it is not ideal. For these 2 dogs meeting for the first time, I took them to the dog park. And because I took them to the dog park, I was able to let them off lead much quicker, which is quite important. I would much rather have dogs meet off lead rather than on lead almost all the time. Step 2, exercise your dog. Exercise reduces cortisol. Cortisol is a stress chemical that can induce a flight or fight response within your dog. Exercise helps reduce that further. Exercise also releases endorphins, which means your dog's going to be happier. So if your dog has less stress and is overall happier, you are much more likely to have a successful meeting with another dog. If they are in a bad mood or very worked up, very anxious, the opposite is going to happen. But with that being said, if one of them is overtired, especially a puppy, that can make them act out in different ways, become more bitey, more barky, and you'll see behaviors you don't want. But giving your dog a big run in the morning, then let them rest, or a nice calming walk before meeting 2 dogs together can really help set you and your dogs up for success. So once you've found that sweet spot with your exercise and both dogs are in a good mind frame, this is where you can start letting the dogs meet and interact with each other. So I was confident with Bean and Olga that both of their personalities would get along very well. Not all dogs get along with every dog, and that's absolutely fine. Bean is a big roughhouser and he's also dog reactive. Olga is a very confident dog. So after they were cool with each other and they sort of lost a bit of interest, we let them off lead to interact. The reason I do not like letting dogs meet on lead is because it can trigger their fight or flight response, and the dog knows they can't run away. So in a stressful situation, because the lead is tight, they go into a state of panic and it causes them to fight because they have no other option. You will see this at some point if you're walking down the street, especially in a large area with dogs. People will let their dogs meet on lead. The lead will be very tight. Dogs will meet face to face. Dogs get a bit tense, the human tugs, and then the dog reacts. This is why I don't like short leads or tight leads. 2 dogs meet on a long line, beautiful, no issue with that. And to be honest, I much rather have dogs just off lead in general. It massively reduces the stress factor. So now they started interacting with each other, and I want to mention something here. During this time, we showed very little interaction with the dogs, unless we wanted them to follow us and we were trying to redirect them. I prefer letting dogs communicate themselves within reason. The majority of the time is absolutely fine, and as long as they don't take it too far, I'm happy to let them communicate with each other. The more we feel we need to manage absolutely everything, the dogs can get more confused and it applies more stress rather than letting them sort it out themselves. It's important that you give your dogs opportunities to gain trust from you.